Greetings, YouTubers and live videoers. It's me, Wayman29, and I decided to come on and make a video. I'm better now. I was sick for like 3 days and couldn't talk, but I went and got a new hat. It's a Captain Morgan hat. So here I am, a Christian in my Captain Morgan hat, and I'm gonna preach a sermon. Probably the first one that I ever preached on YouTube. Usually I'm all research oriented, but something's really gotten under my skin, and it's people pointing fingers at people. This is for Exiled, and she's been getting a lot of flack from people because she's leaving fundamentalism, and it's pretty hard to do. Been there, done that. So this is going out to all those people who like to send her videos on hell and stuff. Basically, there's only 3 things that you need to do to get into heaven. Live righteously, love God, and love your neighbor as yourself. All the rest doesn't amount to a hill of beans. And all the stuff that the Apostle Paul said, building and constructing the theology of the New Testament, wasn't even spoken a lot of the times by Christ. So half of that stuff, we don't even know if Christ agreed with it. At any rate, here's a text in Matthew 25:34, and it's a good story. I don't even know all the background behind it. Usually I do. However, I never really got into Matthew all that much. Just started learning the background of Mark and all the variants and the Greek differences and the like. So if this text was put in by a scribe at some point, I wouldn't know. However, it fits the occasion rather well. So, Matthew 25:34. Then the king will say to those at his right hand, Come, you are that are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it that we saw you sick, in prison, or visited you? And the king will answer them, Truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these, who are my members of my family, you did it to me. So, you have to ask, who's sick, who's in prison, who's left outside? Well, I think a lot of problems that many evangelicals run into is that they forget to take care of the people that disagree with them. And the least of these people are, as Jesus put it, the least of my family. So I think a lot of people are going to be in big trouble, because who gets left outside? The teenage girl that's pregnant, the homosexual gets left outside, all the people who want to do AIDS research, we can't do that because we don't want to support anything. We don't want to support handing out condoms, so thousands of people die. We don't want to talk about sexuality, so thousands of people die. We don't want to, we want to stop abortion. However, our church might not have an adoption agency or have any way to take care of single mothers or babies. So it's just some issues that people need to think about. Who's left outside? Who's in prison and not visited? Who's naked and not clothed? So I think that a lot of people who sit on their their righteous perches and look down on people are going to be really surprised in the end when they say hello to darkness. And I think that a lot of people who think that they aren't doing all that well in life, and if they believe in some kind of heaven, or maybe even if they don't, they might accidentally get there, Jesus will be like, hey, have a beer, and you'll be like, wait a minute, I don't belong here. They'll be like, yeah, man, you helped me change the tire on my car one time in that snowstorm, so you get in for free. Oh, thanks. So a lot of people aren't doing that, and a lot of people need to. And another thing that really bothers me is people forget about the story of the Good Samaritan. Now, the Good Samaritan stops and helps the guy who was assaulted by the robbers along the road. He didn't preach him a hellfire and brimstone sermon before he took him to the hospital. He didn't say nothing. He takes him to the hospital and he tells the innkeeper, if any more expenses are incurred, I'll send the money in. And that's the way it goes. So, I don't know. We just need to think about the way people evangelize to each other. I think you need to be acquainted with the person more as a friend rather than just showing up on their doorstep or spouting some pre-programmed speech that you give to somebody, asking them about the afterlife and things like that, because those are really personal questions, and I think that they need to be answered in a legitimate way rather than springing it on somebody. And as far as I'm concerned, if somebody came up to me like that and started spouting stuff like that off to me, we would have a pretty good, interesting conversation right there about where those ideas come from and how those ideas formulated, and whether even the text they're using is correct text to use or not, and where that came from. Because that sort of thing, talking about biblical text and spouting off verses that you don't even know the background and where they came from and why they were even said, tends to really annoy me. So, sorry about the little rant. I didn't mean to upset anybody if it did. But take care and hang in there. Take care of yourselves and each other.